Welcome to Are You Awake? With Dr. Guldal Kaba. When we can become clear and can state our intentions in our lives with this clarity, the world changes. The intention of our show is to change the world, a step and a show at a time. The world, through each individual, is changed for the better and transformed with awareness, attention, and intention. These shows are offered to you, any of you that are reaching out, so that you may find what you're looking for. Answers, paths, teachers, and most importantly, to learn to listen to the call of your soul. Our topics, guests, and input from you, our audience, are meant to stimulate thought, encourage growth and healing, to teach and inspire, to open the door, and to open hearts. We know this will change the world. Now, please welcome Dr. Guldal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Are You Awake? This is Dr. Guldal. I'm very excited today. For those of you that have been listening to this show and know of my work, you know that what we do here is to prod and poke people's consciousness every day about awakening and rebirthing and using the body's and the spirit and the soul's own regenerative properties to come to our whole self as much as we can. And today, as a guest, we have somebody, Jason Lincoln Jeffers, a wonderful man who's written the book, The Next Human. And he's very much on the same page as we are. And I'm very excited to introduce you to Jason. But before I do that, I'm going to read, which I don't often do, but I'm going to read his bio because he's a wonderful guy. And from here, we're going to bring him on and we're going to ask him all kinds of questions. But I just want to put it out there, his book, The Next Human, Jason Lincoln Jeffers. And you can find him online, Facebook, Twitter, Jason Lincoln Jeffers. And it's the Shaman Artist, Twitter at Shaman Artist. So Jason is a spiritual teacher. He's a life and wellness coach, an author, a mystical expressionist fine artist, which we are definitely going to ask about that, evolutionary astrologer, philosopher, entrepreneur, inspirational teacher, and self-taught authority on metaphysics, transpersonal psychology, and alternative medicine. So you can see how he's such a great fit for our show, and he's constantly probing himself. He himself is probing others to awaken their consciousness as well. Jason began his spiritual training remarkably early from the age of 6. His 71-year-old father and his guru began teaching him how to properly interpret his dreams, to meditate, channel, and develop his innate psychic abilities. After his father passed in 1988, Jason became depressed, and he had many illnesses, which I believe is what led him on his journey of discovery. Jason is also the owner of Sunlighten infrared saunas. This company is amazing. I've been actually using that sauna. It's on my wish list, I told him today, for one at home. I've been in many of them. It's one of the best infrared saunas that I've seen or experienced, which is wonderful to detoxify and purify the body, because the more we purify our body, the more our consciousness does. And with that, Jason, I just want to bring you on and let's start talking. How are you today, Mr. Jeffers?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Guldal, for having me on your show. It's an honor and pleasure to be with you and to speak to your wonderful listening audience.
You know, our audience just keeps growing internationally. The numbers just grow exponentially. So many people are looking to find their own empowerment, Jason, on how to, what I call awaken the soul, listen to the call of the soul. Mm-hmm. And there's so much out there, like anything else. When there's too much information, it's too much information. And one of the things that, we really share is to how to help people find that for themselves. So tell us a little bit about what you do and your book, The Next Human, which I love that title.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, well, the book is really my life culmination of my life's work, trials and tribulations, and a very long period of suffering. After, as you mentioned briefly in the bio, after my father passed in 1988, I did become very depressed. I came down with chronic fatigue syndrome, a very severe case of it, to the point where it was quite debilitating. And so I didn't have much strength and energy to do much of anything except for to read and study. So I completed my college education, but then that's really what prompted me to go much deeper into, really at that time they didn't really teach transpersonal psychology in college, they do now, but transpersonal psychology, which is also called spiritual psychology, goes much deeper. And so I really delved into that and also into metaphysics. for many years. Alternative medicine, I saw many doctors, and because I didn't know what was wrong with me, obviously, and I wanted to figure out how to cure myself of chronic fatigue. And then I had other diseases that compounded, such as inner ear disorder, chronic dizziness, TMJ, borderline type 2 diabetes, and so on and so forth. And it just got to the point where I became so sick that I was willing to do anything or try anything that would, help me. So eventually it led to me discovering the infrared sauna in year 2000, and bought it and got in it. And within just a few minutes, I just knew that this was going to help to detoxify my body, because I had very severe mercury toxicity from all the fillings that I had in my mouth. And so I got all those fillings replaced, but the mercury was still inside of me, obviously. It didn't, come out just with the fillings. So I had to somehow get the mercury out. I tried chelation therapy for many years, but that didn't work. But the infrared sauna worked, and over time the mercury came out. And so I wanted to share that with others, and that led to the founding of Sunlight Saunas, which is now Sunlighten. And that became a very successful company, and now we're the #1 infrared sauna supplier in the world.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Thank you. So anyway, that eventually got to the point where I wanted to share my story with others. There's a lot of people out there suffering. I had severe anxiety and depression for many, many years as well, along with the chronic fatigue. And so I wanted to help others to realize that they are really the cause. They are really the creator of their own reality, and therefore the creator of their own suffering. So that if they are indeed the creator of that suffering reality, then they can certainly change that reality. They certainly have the power to change it and to create a new reality, a reality of non-suffering. And that really is what the book is about. It's becoming, evolving into a non-suffering species, which is the next human. And this species, we don't need to suffer anymore. We can now create, we can now heal the planet, we can now be grown soul adults and stop playing the victim, as it were. And as we do this, we can change the world. We can create a new Earth where we don't have half of the population of the planet living below the poverty level, and having 3 billion people go without access to clean water every day, and all the wars and the suffering that goes on. So we can change all of that. We can change it within a very short period of time. So in the book, I give what I call transformation of the 7 selves. And these are the 7 chapters of the book. And as we transform and transcend the egoic self, the phantom self, then we begin living in the heart. And that essentially is what the next human is about. It's about a new species that lives purely from the heart and not from the head.
Jason, I'm going to interject here for a second. That's so beautiful and so very timely. We have similar stories, and I think many people that are pulled or driven to become healers or educators have a story of illness, a story of collapse of sort. And I'm not sure what years yours were, but we had a very similar story in where there was a physiological collapse. When I was in South Africa, and I worked with a medicine woman, a Sangoma, in South Africa, Mamelodi, the one thing she said to me was that in order to be a Sangoma in the South African tribal system, one has to have gone to the other side. One has to have suffered so much that they're considerably on the other side before they can come back and heal self and others. And I see this very often. So as much suffering as that brought you, what it pulled you towards is very much this next evolution. I was just in India, and the ancient Hindus and so many of the Sufis, so many of the calendars are talking about this year being the year of consciousness evolution. And you see it everywhere. You see everybody starting to really awaken in such a way. So the timeliness of your book and the topic of moving from head and thought, what I liked about this book was that it was heart-centered. So many of the books, and I don't want to trash anybody else's story, but the whole think it and it will be true sets up people to feel more victimized.
Right.
You know, I did it 20 minutes a day it becomes a dogma that isn't what's true. You know, 5% of how we function is cognitive. The other 95% is visceral.
Mm-hmm.
It's heart-driven. It's soul-driven. So it's really wonderful to hear this and to have you talk about this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And we're learning this scientifically now from the Institute of Heart Math and the research that they've been doing since the 90s. And we know now that the heart is about 5,000 times greater electromagnetically powerful than the cranial brain, that the brain actually takes its commands from the heart, not the reverse.
Absolutely.
The brain is not the most intelligent organ in the body. The heart is by far. In fact, every organ in the body came from the heart. Initially, we were just a heart in our mother's womb, and everything came out of the heart. So the heart is really the source. And in this egoic world that we've been living in, this patriarchal society really comes from the mind and the brain, and science now has become really its own religion in a sense. So as we understand the power of the heart, we realize that all the ancient masters, the spiritual masters, lived in the heart. In fact, 6,000 years ago in ancient India, there were 108 spiritual masters who began living in the heart, who transcended the mind and created what I call the heart-based interverse, and came through and they saw the stars and the moon and the sun and the planets, and everything was where it's supposed to be, but it was an entirely new reality, which is really a new frequency. It's not a place, because there really is no such thing as a place. It's just a different frequency, just like you change the channel, right, on your television. And so that's what they did. And so they recorded their experiences, and this is what is known today as the Upanishads, which is the ancient Vedic text.
And I was actually in some of those temples just not too long ago, and the ancient siddhas and the rishis. It's just incredible to be there. You can feel it. Yeah, it was very powerful. I had the privilege of walking around the temples chanting their particular chant 1,008 times, and you don't come back the same. I can guarantee that. It's beautiful. Yeah, keep going. I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject that.
No, thank you for doing that, because that's testament to the power of the wisdom of the ancients, which, of course, the ancient Hindus were well aware of this power, this interdimensional power. And as we do this, the next human is going to, just by being here, these next human children, which are being born in the millions now, they're coming in droves, especially now that we're past the end of the Mayan calendar and we're officially into the new cycle, which is a 13,000-year cycle, which I talk about in the last chapter of the book. Then we're also in the new Aquarian age, which is a 2,165-year cycle. So we've come into two new cycles now, the age of Aquarius, which is the water bearer, which is a beautiful woman who is pouring her picture of knowledge and wisdom onto humanity. And this is the age of enlightenment. Okay, this is why the internet now is so widely accessible to the world. Why Facebook has 700 million members and growing. And so this is what we want to reconnect as one, because we are one soul, one species, one spiritual entity that is divided countless and countless times. And as we realize that we are all similar in so many ways, in this whole idea of separation will dissolve, and that really is the ego. The ego thrives on separation. It cannot exist in unity. It doesn't know what unity is, because the ego is always contrasting and comparing itself to others. This person is inferior to me. This person is superior to me. And that is what's created the conflicts, the wars, the clinging to opinions, which is the ideology, which is really giving birth to the worst form of evil, which is this when a group or tribe or nation unites under a particular belief system or ideology, which we saw in World War II with Nazism and fascism, and then communism, and this whole clinging to a particular belief system these are just average citizens. These are not serial killers. These are just a group or nation of average citizens who cling to a particular belief or ideology, and that's the ego. And the ego says, because you and I disagree, you are my enemy. And to the next human, that is insanity. So we have to transcend that whole process of thinking that that person, just because they hold a different opinion or belief, then that person instantly becomes the enemy. And this is why people fight. This is why couples fight, having relationships. This is why people fight. This is why nations go to war. So the next human is going to transcend all of that.
I love that. This is so beautiful. I just wrote a piece for a video interview next week, which is all about that. But you and I have such different language. I love how everybody has a way to express it and has their own passion at what draws them there. So I just want to put this out there. The way that you talk about it it's beautiful. It gives real strength to it because, yes, if we could actually feel the pain of the other, we'd never hurt them.
Right.
Period. You know, that's kind of my language. And the way you come at it with this type of science and this type of history, everybody hears things differently. Mm-hmm. So it's so wonderful for anybody that's interested in raising their own consciousness, awakening, finding their heart center, to approach this from as many different facets as they can so that it resonates in different parts of their body, different parts of their soul. Mm-hmm. And you do that today. I can feel that in my body. It's really wonderful. So the worst evil is holding on to a cherished opinion, and the worst evil is the ego, which separates. Is
Correct.
That what you're saying? Okay. So with limited time, and we have so much, you talk about the pain body. How do you dissolve the pain body? Does it come from this piece that you're talking about?
Right. In Chapter 2, I go into detail, I think it's a 3-step process there from the end of the chapter, or maybe it's a 4-stage process that gives you the tools that you need to dissolve that pain body, which is really that unknown face that Carl Jung talked about, the shadow part of ourselves. And that really is why people judge, condemn, criticize, are intolerant of others, why they deceive others. This is all projection of your own suppressed phantom or shadow, and that is your unknown face. And so you really have to recognize it in yourself, identify it in yourself, and then you identify it in others. And then once you can do that, over time, eventually you can dissolve it and transcend it. It's really all about shining a light on it and bringing it out into the open, and admitting that you have secrets, and secrets will keep you sick. People get addicted to food or alcohol or gambling or cheating on their spouse or whatever it is. That's all part of your phantom self, and that's the pain body, which is an addiction to pain. You don't know you're addicted to pain, but because you're hosting this pain body entity, if you're suffering in any way chronically, if you have anxiety or if you have chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or depression, whatever it is, if you're suffering, then you've identified yourself with this pain body entity. It is a separate entity. It is not who you are. It is an energy field that was here on Earth when you came onto this world, and it is part of your DNA that gets switched on, and then that activates any of the negative karma that you have accumulated over a period of lives. And the next, there's a primal wounding that has occurred in this life that is an echo of a primal wounding that has occurred in a distant past life. And so if you can heal that, if you can identify that primal wounding, forgive yourself, forgive whoever caused the wound, and then once you can do that, then that will facilitate the dissolution of the pain body, and that will lead to your healing.
That's beautifully summarized. That's great. That's exactly right. And that's the kind of work I do as a clinician, is to help people discover that shadow side, the unfinished business that lives in our DNA. I also find that it's that very part of ourselves, the unconscious part, the part that we're not aware of, that drives and empowers the ego to the degree that the ego gets empowered, because the ego protects us from that shadow self, creates all this dogma, all of these beliefs that keep us locked in and distracted so that we can't find that place within ourselves. And it takes a lot of courage to look at self from that place, although the rewards are huge. But I find most people are terrified of the intensity of what they find in there. But there's really no need to be afraid of that.
Right, there's no need to be afraid. And then, yeah, it took me many years to dissolve the ego. It was the hardest thing for me. It's harder for men usually than it is for women, because men are more attached to their egos than women typically.
Okay.
But that's why the women are awakening first on the planet, and that's also why women were suppressed and oppressed for so long by the male ego, the patriarchal religions, Catholicism, and so forth. Now we're coming out of that, and now, but still, there's a major imbalance. And I talk about that imbalance in Chapter 6, restoring the sacred feminine energy on the planet, the goddess energy.
Loved that chapter. It's great.
Yeah, and that's the Kundalini. The Kundalini, she is awakening. She lies dormant in every single person, every single human, in the cosmic zone at the base of the spine, and then she becomes awakened, and then she rises up the spine and clears out the chakras. And as she does that, then eventually it leads to enlightenment or self-realization. And so I counsel, I coach next human children. Well, some are already adults, but they are coming into this world and they know they have a mission. They know that they are here for a reason. They're here to restore this balance, this imbalance which we've had for so long, and bring it back to a matriarchy. And matriarchy is not the opposite of patriarchy. Matriarchy is about balance. It's about restoring the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. So it's the yin and the yang.
That's
okay,
right.
It's not just we're not going to hand it over to the women and let them run things for a while. That's not what this is about. This is about restoring in each and individual person having an equal balance of masculine and feminine energy. It's been this imbalance where the male ego has dominated the planet, which is why we have been suffering for so long, and why that we've had so many wars. And so we're moving past that now, and getting more women into government, getting more women into heads of corporations, getting more women into places of authority and power where we can restore the balance. It's so important.
It truly is very important, and it's exciting. I'm seeing more and more young people coming in with such a high level of consciousness. I tease them. I'm like, this is the first generation in history where the children are teaching their parents day to day how to do simple things like, can you turn on the computer, and can you... It's pretty funny. It's never happened before. It offsets the balance in families, which it's supposed to do,
right,
which is what you're saying right now. Jason, it's amazing how fast our time has just flown. I want you to be able to say whatever last words you'd like to say. Please share with our listeners how to find you, how to find the book, and please come back because we have a lot to talk about.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes, the website is jasonlincolnjeffers.com or jljeffers.com, either one, and you can go there. You can see the art. I'm a mystical art, expressionist artist. If you like art, spiritual art, transformational art, there's plenty of it there. I also have intuitive astrology readings available for anybody who wants to learn their life path, who wants to get a forecast of what's coming in the years ahead. We do that via Skype. And also we do the pain body counseling and the life and wellness counseling, coaching as well via Skype. So all of that is available on our website at jasonlincolnjeffers.com.
That's exciting. Jason, thank you so much. Any last words for our listening audience? And I will end this show with a awareness activation exercise like I always do, and I will be utilizing some of your wonderful thoughts to do that. So you're welcome to just hang online if you'd like to listen to and be a part of that. But any last words that people can walk away with? Yes, this is what I learned from Jason Lincoln Jeffers today, although they learned a ton already.
Well, yes, definitely buy the book. Get the book, The Next Human. It's well worth it because it's an investment in your transformation, an investment in your evolution, and that's what we're here to do. We're not here to accumulate money, although the money is great, but that's not our priority. Our priority is to evolve and to grow on a soul and a spiritual level, right? So
absolutely,
that's what the book is about. So definitely invest in that. And follow the tools that I've outlined in the book for you.
Wonderful. And I agree. Here's the book, The Next Human. And as you know, I don't promote a lot of things on this show, only those things that are in complete congruence with the mission of this show, and that is listening to the call of your soul. And this show is the community service that I have to offer to all of you. So Jason, thank you so, so much. We will talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to my show, Are You Awake? Remember to ask yourself that question each day. Am I awake? Do I have an awakened consciousness? It is, after all, the only way to find joy, bliss, vitality, and wellness. And as we close our show, remember, open your heart, open your crown, take a deep breath, listen. You never know what you're going to hear.
Please stay tuned for Dr. Guldal's healing exercise and visit innerpathicprocess.com.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the show today. There was so much information, so much to cover. What I'd like to do is to help you close that and bring it all together and have this enter your body so that when you leave this show, you leave changed, you leave transformed. So as long as you're not driving, get comfortable, relax, put your feet up, lay down. Take a deep, deep breath from your nose, deep into your belly. Let your belly fill up. And as this is channeling through me, note the goal in your body that we are activating your awareness today. Activating a level of consciousness that Jason talked about, that we often talk about, that lives deep in your soul, and that resonated with all of you as you were listening. So take another deep breath, and this time find that spot between your eyebrows. And as you're taking a breath, feel that area grow as it deepens all the way into your midbrain. Right there in the middle of your brain as it shoots out your forehead between your eyebrows. And then it shoots all the way down your spine. And it finds your tailbone. And you'll note that direct line from your tailbone up to your midbrain, spot between your forehead into that same spot into your midbrain. And right there is where you want to breathe. As you breathe in, and as you breathe out your mouth, just release any thoughts, any opinions, any judgments, any biases about yourself. First and foremost, about yourself. Just feel it let go. If your mind starts shouting, I'm not good enough, whatever it wants to do, just let it move forth and release it as it releases off your body. And as you're doing this, what you'll notice is that the word emergence keeps showing up right there, pulsating in your midbrain. Your whole body hears emergence. I am emerging. I am emerged. Because what lies in there is like a beautiful diamond, a sapphire, gold. And as you find emergence and release judgment, thought about self, what you'll find is that starting to sparkle electrically, electromagnetically, all the way deep in the core of you, in your spine, your tailbone, deep in your midbrain. And you're going to feel this urge to take a deep breath through your nose and hold it. And as you release that gently through your mouth, everything starts shedding away. And you feel in your body emergence. You don't even have to worry about what it means because your soul knows it means transformation. It means becoming all my potential. And with that, everything outside of you looks different because you are different. It doesn't matter if somebody slams on their brake or is in a bad mood in the grocery store. None of it matters. Because the only thing that matters is this electromagnetic charge that sparkles deep in your spine and in your midbrain. That's literally changing all of your neurochemistry in this moment, right now. Take a moment and let that just be. And feel the goosebumps or the shivering. Some of you will feel cold, some will feel hot. Some will feel just something changing right around your forehead. All of it's wonderful. And stay with this. Do this 3 minutes every day. Start your day, midday, end of day, it doesn't matter. You can do it while you're driving. Just think it. Think emergence. Wake up your spine. This will literally rewire your genetic code and all the neurotransmitters in your body. And that puts a smile deep into your soul as you take a breath. Do a final bath of letting go of everything that's being stuck to you judgmentally, disrespectfully. And let only the glow of that electromagnetic charge emanate from you. Take a deep breath. Relax into this as long as you'd like to. And know that all things are possible. Namaste.
Thank you for participating in today's show. If you have any questions, ideas, or comments, email us at info@areyouawakeshow.com. That's info@areyouawakeshow.com.